we are telling you which books we love, which ones we've read, maybe which ones would like to read.
I used to walk while reading, and I would have all sorts of accidents because once I started reading, I couldn't stop.
I've always read books, but not in that extreme, especially when I was young. I think I didn't have the capacity to read like that. I told my story of what was happening during, your addiction was books.
It was crazy.
Mine was other things. I find a lot of pleasure in reading non-fiction books, biographies, autobiographies, and especially those that are somehow funny.
I have always been on the more fiction spectrum than reality, biography, autobiographies. Mainly due to the same reason. For me, my books were a form of escape. And I especially loved fantasy. I think for me, the first book that really impacted me was Harry Potter, to be honest. And I was trying to say, this is the effect that books had on me as escaping. But later, they also really shaped me. I can say everything I am right now is due to my mom and books.
I am troubled even with movies, with things that are out of this world.
And I love things that are out of this world.
There's no way a human being is flying.
How do you know?
It's not possible. You just can't fly.
Who said that?
We don't. We normally don't. We can sit here and talk for 5 hours
about
straight.
Books. Yeah.
5 hours straight about books.
Yeah.
We both love books, and books have changed our lives in ways that we sometimes don't even consciously know. But Wamboy and I both love books. We talk about books a lot. I think the first connection we made was about books. We were like, oh, have you read that one? Oh, I've read that one. It's a nice book. Have you read this one? And that's how our conversation started in the beginning. And we connected at a very intense level because of books. And today, that is our topic. We are telling you which books we love, which ones we've read, maybe which ones would like to read. And I'm interested in knowing what Wamboy is reading at the moment.
I am so super excited. I feel like a small child. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Yeah.
I love books. But before we dive into that, of course, I want to thank you, our dear listeners, for being here yet again, for coming, for supporting. And I also want to appreciate our sponsors, TEDx Media, for their continuous support, continuously being there, believing in us, being our cheerleader. Thank you. And of course, as usual, you're going to hear a bit more about TEDx Media in the course of our conversation.
Yes.
But right now, let's dive into books, Carol.
Yes. You can see we have some books here.
Yeah, all my favorites. You see, Big Magic.
Yeah,
from
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, yeah, really.
That was a good book.
That was a good book. Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman. But do you know what I think of when I think about books? I think I've struggled with many addictions. But books, I think books were my first addiction. And today I know it was an addiction because, Caro, I used to walk, and people who knew me in my childhood might know this. Hi, Kate. Maybe you remember this. I used to walk while reading, and I would have all sorts of accidents because once I started reading, I couldn't stop. I needed to finish the story. And I already started panicking when my book was almost done. And I did not have another book. And Cara, I've said several times, we were poor. So books were luxury. I did not have books there to choose and read from. For me, it was a luxury. I needed to have a book from someone. And whenever one was coming to an end, I panicked. And I started reading very, very slowly until I could find the next one. Wow. And people who've been addicted to things say, no, this is also the very typical behavior of addiction. You know, you don't want it to finish. Before it finishes, you start being careful with it. So this, for me, books have been, I started reading, I don't know, as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I'm worried because that's my daughter now at the moment. We were talking the other day about she is reading the whole time, like
Like a crazy person.
yeah. And then these 700, 800, 900 pages books.
Oh, I love that.
And now she asked me, what do you think, how many books can I buy in a month? You know, in this panicky kind of
Oh, I love her.
yeah. And I told her 3 maximum. You're not getting. We can be working for books.
Wow.
And she doesn't want to, because she has a shelf full of books. She likes having them there and seeing them. And there are some books she was buying that have only a few editions, and she had to pay 10 euro extra. That one she bought with her pocket money because I said no. So she's in that phase. I can imagine that one of walking with a book. Yeah. I have always read books, but not in that extreme, especially when I was young. I think I didn't have the capacity to read like that. I told my story of what was happening during, your addiction was books.
It was crazy.
Mine was other things that
Crazy.
that
Go
is
back
not
to the episode and my God.
yeah, that was not really conducive for reading. But then later, I think after I finished high school, it's when I started reading and reading a lot, reading what was available. But I have always, I have a tendency of liking nonfiction books. I have read some fiction books. So that time when I was learning law, I was reading these books by, I don't know if the name will come now, but some things to do with law and all that, and there were fiction books, of course. But I find a lot of pleasure in reading non-fiction books, biographies, autobiographies, and especially those that are somehow funny. I like, Will Smith kind of books, Kevin Hart. I don't know. You haven't read Will Smith?
No, I still haven't.
That book. You do know how many times I've listened to that book?
Wow. I really need to go back to that. I don't know why I am not able to listen to that book.
Book 18 times.
What?
18 times.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that is crazy.
That is crazy because I'm always laughing. It is a book I go to when I'm stressed, when in between books. So when I'm not sure. And the thing is, let me tell our audience, our listeners, I have a job where, and this might sound funny, I'm not using my brain a lot.
She has automatized things, dear listeners. Her brain is there, but automatized.
When I'm slicing onions, I'm not using a lot of my brain capacity. So it's like I can do it with my eyes closed, almost. So I have a knife. So what I do is a lot of audiobooks, there was a time I was listening to a book every day. And that is when I thought with my daughter and me buying books every day, it was getting me, it was costing a lot. And you can imagine on Audible, 10 euro 99. You only get one book per month.
And you're buying 10 euros per day.
Yeah.
Dear Kenyans, this is 1,000 Kenyan shillings.
Yeah. That was extreme. So that between books, when I thought like, there was a day I read 2 books. 2 books.
In one day. But how are your ears? I find that I'm not able to process. Even if I have time, I cannot deal with book 2 if I've just dealt with book 1.
Oh, yes. For me, it's not a problem. I start one at 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning. And then you can imagine if a book is 5 hours, I'm finished by lunchtime. I still have the afternoon going into the evening hours.
And your work really, you can really just listen to the book
I can listen
all day.
Yeah. So
okay, I appreciate that.
So between those books, that's when I listen to Will Smith, because Will Smith's book is amazing. The way that guy writes, tells his story in a very funny, touching. There's still these really deep stories, But then there are things you remember, like when he's talking about his bodyguard, Charlie Mark. And, I love that book. I love that book.
Wow.
And the other one that I really loved, but I just listened to it once, maybe, is Kevin Hart. I can't make this shit up.
I love Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, I don't know. He's just amazing.
Yeah. He's just funny.
He's just
And
he's just funny.
And really, he can't be making that shit up.
Yeah.
It happened.
And with him, you believe him.
You believe him.
Yeah. He has a way of making you believe it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also read, what's her name? This, She Ready? The unicorn. The last black unicorn. Yeah. I'll tell you when it comes. So
It will come.
Yeah, it will come. So it's this kind of life stories that are mixed with comedy, because you also know how I'm writing my book. It's also this very serious, deep things, but
funny
introducing,
aspects in it.
with that's the kind of reading I like.
Lightness.
Yeah, lightness, because these are very traumatizing things, and I don't want my the reader to be traumatized by my own traumas.
I'm telling you, that book is traumatizing. Jesus, I'm looking forward to the day when you really finish that book, because it's an amazing book that she's writing. But it's heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah,
and that's why I put in these funny things, and I asked you to laugh with me when I'm laughing, even if it's something you would not normally laugh about. But those are the kind of books, and that is why I'm writing my book like that, because those are the kind of books. It's not everybody's kind of book, but I'm also doing it for myself, and that is how I find it easier to digest, even telling my story in that way. And Tiffany Haddish, that's the name of that. You don't know her, the comedian? Yeah, Tiffany Haddish.
No, I think I know her.
Yeah,
I think I've seen her with Oprah.
Yes,
I think so. Oh, she has a book.
Yeah, she has a book, The Last Black Unicorn, and it's funny. It's funny. There is a story she tells about her having a boyfriend that had only one arm. And the depth she goes into explaining even the sex and all that, how they were having it.
I don't know why I'm laughing. Sorry.
You can laugh. No, it's really amazing. But there are also other books that we have read, not together, but you have read that I have also read. Maybe you can tell us which books have somehow changed your life, or things that books that remained with you after reading them.
Yeah, I've had really books that I think books have impacted me a lot. I have always been on the more fiction spectrum than reality, biography, autobiographies. Mainly due to the same reason. For me, my books were a form of escape. And I especially loved fantasy. I think for me, the first book that really impacted me was Harry Potter, to be honest.
Okay.
Probably not very philosophical, but I love Harry Potter. It's my go-to, the way you talk about Will Smith. It's my go-to book when I don't have any other book. I've struggled to find books. Nothing is working. My life is generally not working. I'm questioning my life goals. I go back to Harry Potter. It's I have learned so much.
Because I read like 3 because of my kids. I was reading the books to them. And the thing I find about such books, I am troubled even with movies, with things that are out of this world.
And I love things that are out of this world.
There's no way a human being is flying.
How do you know?
It's not possible. You just can't fly.
Who said that?
We don't. We normally don't.
In your world, yes, but in Harry Potter's world,
I'm living in now. In Harry Potter's world, I find it difficult going into that world and being in that world of humans. The
flying.
First, even movies. Do you know the first movie I watched with flying human beings was Wakanda, Black Panther, and I watched it for other reasons.
Wait, but this is the other day.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
What?
The whole Marvel, I don't know what. I don't.
Crazy.
I am moved by a true story, family film. Those are the things that move me. Those are the things that I like reading. Something that is close to reality, you know?
And that's
It can
what I
have
don't
some-
like too much. Things that are too close to reality. Because it's too true. When I'm
Okay,
going
you like
into
running
books,
away.
yes,
It has to be an escape
I
from
like
something.
escaping.
Okay.
I like escaping from
Okay.
things. I want to be in a world that will never exist. And I can put myself in that world and be in that world. And all my problems are
It's
gone.
a form of escape. Yeah.
That's why it was an addiction for me, because it was a form of escape. That's why I also loved Bible stories. I loved Bible stories. Imagine God just separating the world and the earth swallowed 2 people. It just swallowed. I mean, you can't make that. You can't make this shit up, you know. It happened, you know? Or a ferret. No, not a ferret, but some animals start talking. Or I don't know, all these stories in the Bible that you read and you're like, how did this happen? You know, so I like being in that world of things that are happening that I know in my world will never happen. Because when I know in my world they can happen, then I take it too seriously. And then I'm unable to get lost in that story. I start analyzing it. When I'm in Harry Potter, I don't have to analyze nothing.
That is exactly what happens to me when I'm reading. For example,
You start overthinking.
You start thinking such nonsense.
What?
This will never happen.
No, please.
That's how I think.
No. You will not. You shall not. You shall not call it nonsense.
Can you imagine people playing a game, sitting on brooms in the air?
Yes.
It's
But people play football every day. They're running after a small ball. How does that make more sense?
On the ground. You can see the ball, their feet on the ground. They're not swimming or you know, hanging on there with brooms. It doesn't get into my head. And I start and then I get bored. Because
I'm so
thinking,
sorry for you.
I'm thinking, this cannot happen. I've no fun in that.
I'm so sorry.
I have fun with things, you know, when I can laugh because it's real. You know, when Will Smith is telling his story about, you know, things about how I cannot point out any specific situations now, but that makes me laugh. I can identify with that somehow. That is the world I want to go into. This real world. Somebody else's story that I can somehow identify with.
But it's not necessarily really real. Like Will Smith has multitudes of money. How are you supposed to identify in his world?
But he's also
He
a
lives
human
in
being.
a world that, but he lives in a world that to you right now is not known. So you have to imagine it. You have to create a capacity in your brain that allows you to imagine that.
Yeah, but
it's not a given.
Yeah, of course. But he's not only talking about this money. He's talking about his journey. And that is exactly what I love. This journey going to that point where he is now, which I cannot.
The same thing that's happening. Look at Harry Potter. Harry Potter is this boy whose life doesn't make sense. With his uncle who's fat and has a big stomach and a mustache.
Up to that point, I can identify.
Real people, yeah.
Up to that point.
And then there's Voldemort who wants to kill him.
I am what do they call him?
But anyway, wait.
Yeah.
You had asked me a question.
Yes. Sorry for interrupting.
Let me go back to that question because I really...
This about Harry Potter. That's what I... That's how my daughter reacts.
You shall not call it. You know, can you please apologize?
Sorry, Harry Potter people.
Yes.
Yeah. When I hear
Harry
you
Potter,
and my daughter talking about Harry Potter, it's like, oh my God.
It is not nonsense.
Oh my
bitter.
God. It's not.
Okay,
it's
let's
not.
move on. Now, the book that
it's not
has...
reality. It's okay, whatever. Yeah, the book has...
What's wrong with this one? I'm trying to explain something. She's continuously saying something.
People, can you just please tell us in the comments what you think about books like Harry Potter?
don't. If you don't, you talk about you go read your own books or not. But anyone who calls Harry Potter nonsense, we shall have a war. I'm going to come look for you.
Let's team up. Harry Potter. Okay, go on, Wamboy. Sorry
Thank
for
you.
interrupting you.
So let's go
Not
back
for
to
saying
serious
nonsense.
things.
Yeah.
And Harry Potter is a good book. Anyway,
Here is a quick one to tell you about our sponsors, TDX Media. I've been working with TDX Media for about 5 years now, and this has saved my life, literally saved my life. TDX Media has a way of helping you to optimize your office work. So I am a very chaotic person. My office was looking like you can imagine it. And then TDX Media came and they really helped me to optimize the processes, especially the processes of how I work, what should happen when, they came and advised me. They came and sorted out most of my files and all that, because I am not that. And then my website, it's beautiful because it is being maintained, it is being serviced by TDX Media. And then the CEO of the company, Christian Tiedemann, who does all that, comes to you, advises you, he talks to you, he listens to your needs, and then crafts everything according to how you need it, but adding his professionalism in everything that he does, such that at the end of it all, and he will not use anything he doesn't think is okay for the person visiting your website. So if your photos are not good enough, then he'll not put them in. And that is the level of professionalism that I need when I'm working with someone, so that they just don't do everything I tell them to do. They tell me, okay, it's your website, but it has my name on it. So he will not do anything that is not professional enough. And the other thing is event management. Guys, these guys are so organized. TDX Media is so organized. They have taken control and over. They organize our African festival, which happens every year. So I have nothing to do with it. The first year I organized it myself. I almost went crazy. And nowadays I just get calls, or when we're talking, it's a yes, no, and I have nothing to do with it. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I love working with these people. I love the way they, present themselves in a way that is, I will talk about professionalism the whole time, because that is what they are. They are professionals. And you see that in everything they do. When they're doing consultations with you, they are very specific in everything that they're doing. You can only be satisfied when you're working with TDX Media. And I'm so glad that have trusted us now to sponsor our podcast. And I've been working with them all this time, satisfied with their work. I'll continue working with them. So please visit their website, www.tidix.de. That's www.tidexx.de. Visit them, because you'll be doing yourself a favor. Thank you so much.
What was I saying? Jesus.
Books that have impacted.
Yes. And I was trying to say this is the effect that books had on me as escaping. But later they also really shaped me. I can say everything I am right now is due to my mom and books, basically. And books help me see the world. I think this is what books do. They create a world, whether it's fictional or not, that my brain is able to explore, even if I am not there yet. And that's why I love books. And one of the authors that have really impacted me, they have been so many. But I think people like Haruki Murakami, I think I've talked about Haruki Murakami a million times, because he has a way of writing, which is, again, a lot of fantasy. It's a world of speaking cats and such things. But I love these surreal worlds where I really have to think about what is going on here. Like there's one story he tells about the city of cats. I think I've told you this story. And in the city of cats, there's this guy who is on the train, and somehow he forgets to get out on the right station. And he goes to the next station where he wants to get out.
Is that now a cat or a...
He's a human being.
A human being.
A normal human being.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he gets to this city and there's nobody there. And in the evening, he says that it's a city of cats.
Okay.
And somehow he gets so caught up in this world. And now he starts forgetting where the train station was to go back. And in the end, he forgets how to go back. And when I read this story, I was very new in Germany, not maybe 1 or 2 years. And I started, it really made me scared because I felt like, how is it that you get into a city of cats, in quotes, quote unquote, and then you no longer find your way back? And this is why I like literature that is not so definite, so that it's like a picture that I can adjust the meaning to it, the meaning that I want.
Okay.
This
I
makes
get
it
you.
easier for me to get
Yeah.
my own meaning into the story.
To interpret it the way you want.
To interpret it the way I want, or to associate it with a story that I want in that moment. So definitely that has been a story.
I think I'll get one of his books, and I've not read.
I don't think you will like Murakami.
Okay.
I really don't think that's your thing. You can try, but I think these are one of those books which you open and close. But one book which was actually non-fictional, a biography or autobiography. How do you call the books that are written by people but the people are still alive? Autobiography or biography?
Autobiography is one that is written by somebody else, I think. And biographies is the one you write yourself, your story.
The one you write yourself, your story, and you're still alive.
Yeah,
obviously, you're still alive.
So.
Otherwise, you would, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Of course. So this book is called Educated. I think you read it too.
Oh, yes. Tara.
What's that? Westerwood?
Westerhof. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Westerhof.
Yeah, I think it's Westerhof.
My God, that book
that's
was
an amazing book.
So good. If you've not read this, no, this is a good book for both fictional and non-fictional people, even people who love fantasy. Because she talks about Mormonism. Was it Mormonism?
Yeah.
And how she gets out of Mormonism and how she grows up without conventional
education.
Exactly.
Yeah, Tara Westover.
Yeah. Really, really, really good book.
That was amazing.
That was a good book.
Alone, not being able to go to school.
Yeah.
And then educating herself.
Yeah. And then coming out and actually going to write a PhD.
Yeah.
I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
And also, the problems with the family, of course.
Yeah.
After she decided to go out.
Yeah.
And this Mormonism with they don't go to hospitals.
Yeah.
That's the same thing Martha Beck was also writing about.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
She also belonged to that. Is it a church? Is it a cult? Is it a what is it?
It's a form of Christianity. It's a religion, but it's not really Christianity. But when you read their books, they have also a lot of to do with Jesus and such things.
Okay,
but don't hold me accountable. I have no idea about Mormonism.
Yeah,
I just have
through those books. I've never
gotten into
reading about it or
yeah.
But that book was really, really amazing.
Yeah. I think for me, books have been so healing. I think every time, and I've said this a lot about language. Every time I read something in a book that I identified with, it gave me language to understand the things that I was going through myself. It's in a book that I saw about sexual assault, and I could be able to define that in my head, what had happened to me. It's in books that I saw things about alcoholism and addiction. It's in books I saw about pregnancies, and it's in books that I saw, because in books people are somehow a bit more honest than when they're speaking or when they are talking. At least this is how I've experienced it. And they go a bit deeper into it and explain how they feel. Because when people are talking, they rarely talk about how they feel.
That's the thing.
They generally talk about what they think, which are two different things.
Yeah, and what you think the other person wants to hear.
Exactly. Yeah. But books are so much more honest. And this has given me so many, even about racism, all these topics that have been in a way traumatizing for me. Every time I read a book, a piece of me was healed by it, I would say. Yeah.
I think for me, it's when it comes to impact, The Power of Now.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, that was a
Yes,
good
I
book.
have it here. Eckhart Tolle.
I think that's one of the greatest books.
Yeah,
Really. I read that one
that
too.
yeah, that really had a very big impact on myself. And then, of course, these books I read about health and nutrition.
Oh yes. I've learned a lot from you through that because now I would
Yeah,
never go myself and read those books.
yeah,
Then
but
you go read them and come and digest them for me. And
yeah,
that has
that's what
been
I
really
love. I love doing that. I love,
Mhm.
when I learn something, that's what I do on Facebook, on my page or
Mhm.
Instagram, just giving that information,
Mhm.
because I feel like when I go, aha,
Mhm.
I think how many people
Know this.
know this,
Mhm.
and even if they do, I don't care. I'll just talk to that one person who didn't know about
Mhm.
this,
Mhm.
and then I share that information. So,
Mm.
How Not to Die
Mhm. Oh yes,
by
that was a
Michael
good book.
Greger.
I
Yeah,
think you forced
yeah.
me to read that book. Understand?
It could be. You had to read that book.
I think you forced me to read it.
And
Yeah.
it's so amazing, talking about
Mm.
food and what food does to you. And
Mhm.
it's just a book that everybody should read.
Yeah. It really was. I think
Yeah.
I remember a lot of beans and
Yes,
broccoli from that
yes,
book.
yes.
Yeah.
Because it explains all these things, what your body does when you eat this, when you don't eat this. All these diseases that are happening to us because of our
Mhm.
nutrition, and I continue to learn from such books.
Mhm.
So these are mostly the books I'm reading now.
Mm.
I've read a lot, even when we talk about here, Elizabeth
Oh
Gilbert.
yeah, Gilbert.
I read
Mm.
her book because after reading Big Magic,
Mm.
I actually read Big Magic before I read Eat, Pray, Love.
Mm.
It's you who told me, have you read her? And I didn't know that was her most famous book.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
I read that and I
Mm.
was, just in love with it. But
Mm.
those are real life stories, these
Mm.
are, following her journey and all that. And
Mm.
then Mother Beck,
Mother Beck.
Integrity.
I love Mother Beck.
Yeah,
Really, the way of
yeah.
integrity.
The Way of Integrity.
She
Yeah.
explains integrity in such a beautiful way. And
Yes.
it's unfortunately that we don't have too much time to tell
Yeah.
you this. So,
Yeah.
dear listeners, please go and look for that book. The
Way of
Way of
Integrity.
Integrity.
Yeah.
It's such a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one that also was impactful for me was here, The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes.
Oh yeah, I loved that one too. The
Yeah,
Year of
yeah,
Yes. That
yeah.
was
That was
also
also
a
an
good book.
amazing book.
And do you remember the other one? The other one that says, if you argue with reality, you always lose.
My friend here.
Who was that book? Which book was that?
What's her name? What's her name? And I was talking about her the other day. The one who talks about the work.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
In this book, she talks a lot about how we sometimes talk negative things about ourselves. And she started really examining these things as she says. For example, maybe when you say, I am very fat,
yeah.
and then you have to ask yourself these following
Is it
questions.
true?
Is it true? Is it really true?
Yeah,
Who will I
yeah,
be
yeah.
is
Byron
without
Katie.
Byron Katie?
Byron Katie. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Who will I be without this
This
reality?
asking these questions.
Yes.
Is that really true? Who would I be without? I did the work
Mm.
after reading her book, and then I read the next one, Loving What Is.
Loving what
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Loving what is.
that's a book. That's a really book. Nice book. That's a really
I
book.
think if I were to tell people to read any book or to say that this book has changed me, I think that will be that.
Yeah.
I think that's the book.
I don't know.
Loving what is. I
Loving
think it
What
has
Is.
changed my life
Yeah, yeah.
from the inside out, really.
Loving What Is and Power of Now. Those are two books that I hold
Very
very
high.
high.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. There are so many others, so many others. And we
Very.
unfortunately don't have so much time to talk about that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think this is something, and Wamboy and I are thinking about having a conversation, maybe taking one book and having a conversation about it. Maybe you can tell us what you think, if this is something you'd want us, because books, we can sit here
Yeah.
and talk for 5 hours
About
straight.
books. Yeah. Yeah.
5 hours straight
Yeah.
about books.
Yeah.
So maybe tell us if you would want us to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also tell us which books are your go-to books. Which books do you say, go read this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
We
We
are
are
really
always
interested
open
in
and we
that.
love reading books.
Yeah.
without Harry Potter.
With Harry. Okay.
Now,
Listeners, me, I'm just going to go home now because this woman, she will not stop. And Harry Potter, I take it very personal.
I know, guys. Harry Potter is a book. I read 3 for my kids. It's interesting somehow, but it's not anything that. But it's okay. One boy, I respect.
Don't talk about Harry Potter.
I am not talking about Harry Potter anymore.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. We are not talking about Harry Potter. One boy has to go catch the train. That's why we have to finish this this episode quickly. Normally we talk, but today.
No, me, I'm going, especially after this Harry Potter thing. I'm even on my way. I'm going to be listening to Harry Potter. Harry Potter is the best book that was written. And we love J.K. Rowling. Yeah.
My Elijah friend. Okay, guys. Yes. Bye-bye. We love you. Subscribe and leave us a review.
And follow.
Yes,
and tell us about books.
And tell us about books. Bye-bye.